Hey, what's up guys? In this video, we're going to be taking a look at a rear view mirror style dash cam. This is the Nexigo D90 Gen3. And compared to a traditional dash cam, I see two main advantages here to this rear view mirror style form factor. Number one, instead of a box that attaches directly to the windshield, these types of dash cams are designed to attach to your rear view mirror to give you a more blended and hidden type of install. And then number two, using the included rear-facing camera, you can now get a digital rear-view mirror, which can be handy, of course, if you've got a bigger vehicle, or maybe you've got people or boxes back behind you that would otherwise block your rear-view visibility. And in that case, you can switch it to the digital rear-view mirror, but perhaps more importantly, and actually what I'm really interested in, is the fact that this display can also double as a backup camera. You see, for a while now, I've been wanting to add a backup camera to my mom's car. And this seems like a clean way to do it without having some additional display mounted on her dash or something. Now, when it comes to rear view mirror style dash cams, there's a lot of different options available in the market. A lot of you guys have been asking me for a while to test and review some of these, and I've been researching a whole bunch of them, but as I keep researching, I wind up finding myself disappointed with almost all of the options that are available. You see, just like with traditional style dash cams, these rear view mirror style dash cams are doing a lot of the same fake 4K stuff where they're basically using lower end hardware, maybe using a 2K sensor, and then afterwards just stretching the image at the end to output a 4K file without actually capturing in 4K and giving you the detail that's available with the 4K sensor. For example, if you take a look at AZDome's 4K model, they say that uses the 2K Sony Starvis IMX335. Furthermore, even though the sensor supports HDR, they're only using WDR with this dash cam. But the main issue really is the fact that they're using a 2K sensor. And I can appreciate the fact that at least they're telling us this because this is actually not typically the case. For example, there's also Red Tiger, which makes a lot of popular fake 4K dash cams. They've got a fake 4K rear view mirror style dash cam, the T700, and they won't actually specify which sensor that they're using, which is always kind of a red flag. And in fact, if you ask them about that, they actually say that this is our secret and needs to be kept secret. And this is not proprietary information or anything. I find that when companies are very proud of the equipment that they're using, they really want to show it off and tell you like, hey, here's what we've got under the hood here. But when companies are trying to lie and hide something, they're like, oh, this is kind of proprietary information, you know? Similar thing actually with Wolfbox. They sell a lot of popular rear view mirror style dash cams on Amazon too. And with the dash cams that they advertise as recording at 4K, a lot of those actually use the same 2K Sony Starvis IMX335. They also used to sell the G910. It recorded a little over 1080p, but the main feature that caught my eye was their AI pedestrian detection. I have no idea how well it worked or anything, and that dashcam has since been discontinued, but that was kind of something unique and interesting compared to a lot of the other options. And then when it comes to dashcams that use good image sensors, there's actually two that I've been looking at. Number one is the 70mm S500. This uses a Sony Starvis 2 sensor, the 2K IMX675. Though speaking of stretching the truth, they actually advertise it as a 3K sensor. It's the first time I've seen any company try to do that. And there's no GPS that's available, though it does come with a smaller design, which I think a lot of people would appreciate. It's a little over 9 inches across. Now with all that said, the other model that I've been looking at here is the one that we're going to cover here in this video. It's the Nexigo D90 Gen3. And this dashcam uses a 4K Starvis 2 sensor, the IMX678. The previous version, the Gen 2, also uses a 4K sensor. It was the original Starvis sensor. This one actually uses a Starvis 2 sensor. Now, one thing that I appreciate here is the fact that with the rear camera that records in 1080p, they're also using a Sony Starvis sensor as well, something that's not the case with a lot of the other models, such as the 70mm that I talked about a moment ago. It also has a larger 12-inch screen, which is bulkier and takes up more space in the car, but it's something that I think my mom would appreciate when trying to use the backup camera. Just you've got more visibility there, more real estate, makes it a little bit easier to see what's going on back behind you. And so these are the reasons why I wanted to take a closer look here at this new D90 Gen 3. Now, going through this video, we're going to take a look at everything that's included here with this dash cam. We're going to take a look at its form factor and its design, which is of course different than a traditional style dash cam. We're going to fire it up and play around with its user interface. We're going to of course get it installed in the car. I'll show you what the installation process is like. We'll take a look at some sample footage and the video quality that this dash cam can capture. I'm going to share some impressions here of the dash cam, as well as what it's like with the rear view mirror form factor, using it as a replacement rear view mirror, and then also what it's like using it as a backup camera, which is again one of the main things that I'm interested in here with this style of dash cam. And so with all that said, let's go ahead and take a closer look now here at this new Nexigo D90 Gen 3. All right, so taking a look at everything that's included here in the box, we've got the main rear view mirror style dash cam, of course. We've got a cigarette lighter power cable like this. They also sell an optional hardwire cable if you want a cleaner install or to get the parking mode capabilities working. The GPS is going to be external like this. You've got the antenna and it plugs into the top of the dash cam. There's no GPS built into the mirror itself. Here is the rear-facing camera / backup camera. You've got the cable to, again, plug into the top of the dash cam, and then a second wire like this, which is going to plug into your reversing lights in your car, and this is going to trigger when this camera kicks on and comes here as a backup camera. You've got some mounting hardware, both screws and double stick tape for this bracket right here on the camera. For tucking all these cables away, you've got a trim tool like this, and you've got a couple different rubber bands for attaching the dash cam itself to your rear view mirror. So your rear view mirror is going to go right there. This is going to kind of go around, and it's just going to attach onto the rear view mirror like this. And depending on how big your rear view mirror is, they've got a couple different size rubber bands like this, so it can just attach directly onto it. And then we've also got the manual here, as well as a lens cleaning cloth here for the lens itself. And actually here, we can go ahead and start peeling this off and getting things ready like that. Now, this lens itself is adjustable, and the idea is when you've got this installed in your car, you're going to be aiming the rearview mirror to make sure that it's angled the way that you want, and then you can adjust the angle of the dash cam itself separately like this, kind of up and down, left or right as needed. Now, this lens does not actually slide sideways. There are some models where this whole part of the dash cam can actually slide over a little bit, which can be pretty handy, but this one doesn't do that, and so the rearview mirror is actually going to sit kind of like right here in this area, and then as I mentioned, you've got these rubber bands just to like attach it directly onto the rearview mirror itself. Now, if we take a look next at the top of the dash cam, we've got a couple different ports available. We've got our USB Type-C port here for power. We've got our rear dash cam cable. We've got a micro SD card slot. It's going to support cards up to 256 gigs. And then it's got the GPS antenna right there, which is just going to slot in here like that. On the bottom of the dash cam, you've got a power button like that, which is also going to allow you to switch from your traditional rearview mirror like this to a digital rearview mirror. And you've got two microphone ports right there on the bottom. And actually, with that said, let's go ahead and start plugging in everything here and fire this guy up. So first, let's go ahead and pop in a memory card here like this. We're going to plug in our GPS antenna on top. We're going to get our rear camera plugged in here like this. And then we're going to need our power cable. Okay. Get that plugged in here like that. Oh. All right. And hello, hello. Let's get this peeled off here like that. All right, so now here we are, we're up and running now with our digital rearview mirror. You can see I'm actually plugged in and it's connected here to my backup camera. So this is basically now my digital rearview mirror. If I want, I can also just press the button here on the bottom and I can turn it into like a traditional rearview mirror like this. Looks like it is pretty reflective. I'm kind of curious to see like how well it works. If you still have some reflections, you can see like this with it, the digital one on, so I'm curious to see like what it's like in practice. But anyway, let's go ahead and first focus here on the UI itself. Now this is a touchscreen. I like the fact that you can actually kind of like swipe to the side and you can switch different modes. So I've got it right now in like a split screen. So here's the front and the rear camera. I can slide it again and I can just kind of switch the positioning. I can slide over and I get just the front camera. You can see like that. But most of the time when you're driving, you can of course switch over and just have it like a backup camera or a digital rearview mirror like this. And taking a closer look at the display, you can see that it's got a status indicator that it's recording. It tells you the resolution options, 4K for the front, 1080p for the rear, 30 FPS with HDR enabled. And then it's also going to tell me my speed here if I like as well. Now when I tap the display, let's tap it again, we've got a couple buttons here on the bottom. We can start and stop recording with this button here like this. I can also just have it take a photo, so press that. I can trigger my emergency recording with that middle button here like this, and oh cool, gives me a little like emergency recording for however long this is, 20-30 seconds or so. I think I can also stop it if I want as well. Well, let me do that. Maybe I have to stop. Okay, exit emergency recording. That's cool. Okay, it's still recording. I've got my ability to like play back any of the files that are saved for like the front or for the rear camera. So your traditional video, your locked video, and then also the photos that you've gotten. We've got our microphone right here to turn the microphone on and off. Little confirmation here at the top to let you know the mic's disabled. We'll turn it back on for now. And then the button right here is going to take us into the settings here for the dash cam. Now there is going to be a menu here of different options that you can check out. Most of these options should be pretty self-explanatory, like, you know, factory reset for all the settings and whatnot. There's a couple that I kind of want to like just look through here real quick. You can of course adjust the resolution here. You can see we've got a couple different options. So 4K for the front, 1080p for the rear. HDR you can turn on and off here like this. It doesn't look like there's an auto HDR option if you want maybe just HDR in the daytime, or sorry, at nighttime for example, but turning it off in the daytime is just going to be either full-time on or full-time off. Or you can do a 2K for the front camera and then 1080p HDR for the rear. The HDR should also apply to the front camera too. Video encoding, you've got the option for both H.264 for compatibility here like this, or H.265 for slightly smaller file sizes.
We've also got, let's see, G sensor. I almost always turn this off whenever I get a new dash cam. It just triggers on like crashes, sure, but it also triggers on like speed bumps and potholes and whatnot. So I always just wind up turning that off. And in case of a crash or something, I'm always just grabbing the memory card anyway, so that's not a big deal. Let's see, screensaver mode. This will allow you to control if by default it wants to turn off the screen while you're driving, or maybe some of the different display options like your GPS and whatnot. So you can control all of this stuff here. Screen brightness is adjustable. Looks like we've got manual controls here for display brightness. The rest of the stuff, again, pretty self-explanatory, adjusting time zones and whatnot. Reverse mode, we've got two different options. One is going to be the full screen option, which is going to be the default. And you also have the ability to do the second full frame option instead. And then hopping into the car now, we can go ahead and take this rear view mirror dash cam and attach it here to the rear view mirror. Now this is going to work best if you have a simple rear view mirror like this. If you have any buttons for like home link or something for your garage door opener, they are going to get blocked when you cover it up here with this upgraded dash cam rear view mirror. Additionally, because it's bigger and bulkier, it's also kind of blocking my radar detector here, so I'm going to have to remove it and find, I guess, a different position for it somewhere else here on the windshield too. And because the rear view mirror in this car is pretty thin, I'm going to go ahead and use some of these smaller connectors here like this. So we'll go ahead and just fit the dash cam here, or the rear view mirror. I don't know if I should call it a rear view mirror or a dash cam, but I'm just going to attach it here and just slide it on here with these little hooks. Then we can get it aimed here exactly where I want. Then to install this GPS antenna here, we've got a couple different options. There's double stick tape here on the back. And I can always take it, maybe just like stuff it up here into the headliner, or another common place is I actually like to put it here in the dash area itself. A lot of times what I'll do is I'll just pop off a side panel like this, and then I can just run any cables up in there. However, I've noticed that with this GPS antenna, they didn't actually make the base magnetic, and so I can't just attach it to like maybe a plate up in there underneath like this. And so for that reason, I think I'll just put it up in the headliner here instead. Also making sure that I don't do it too far back, because then I actually go behind the metal for the top of the car there. Now for power, unfortunately, it only comes with a cigarette lighter adapter here like this. I'm gonna go ahead and install it here for now, and then just kind of run the cables along the headliner as well. And then when the hardwire cable comes, I'm gonna install that too to give myself the parking mode capability and free up the cigarette lighter. And if you wanna see how to hardwire a dash cam, I've got plenty of videos to go over how to do that as well. So we've got our dash cam installed here. We can also go ahead and start like aligning or aiming the dash cam here on the back of the camera like this. It can be a little bit tricky, I guess, since it's a wider dash cam, to figure out like where's the exact top and bottom of the frame. We're only seeing kind of this like middle sliver here. You can also kind of like scroll up here to the top and down to the bottom to figure out like exactly where the edges of the frame are. Now that said, we really want this rear view mirror to be a rear view mirror. So we'll go ahead and grab the rear view camera here like this, and we'll head around to the back of the car. And then to install that rear camera, we're going to put it right here, just above the rear license plate area. Not in the traditional spot where we usually do like a rear dash cam, kind of like right there in the rear window. In this case, we're going to have a slightly lower field of view because we want to use it more as like a backup camera. And this rear camera does have a little quick release right there, you can see in purple, and that's going to be handy, so we can go ahead and run the rear camera. And I noticed the cables actually run here down the left side of the trunk, so I think we'll follow around there and then connect to the rear kind of reverse light right there. And to mount this rear camera using the bracket here on top, you can either use the 2 screws or the included double stick tape. And I think I'm going to go for the double stick tape route. We can clean off the mounting area, and then peeling the tape off the dash cam, we'll go ahead and attach the dash cam to that rear trunk lip. Then once we've got this cover off here, we've got access to getting into the license plate area right there. Now, something I was actually wondering about is as far as the tail lights or the reverse lights, is it these upper ones or is it these lower ones? Now, there's a cool trick to actually figuring this out, especially if you're doing this by yourself. We'll first go ahead and kick on the e-brake here for safety, and then I'm going to go ahead and turn on the accessories, but not the full ignition. Without moving the car, we're still going to have the ability to actually put the car into reverse gear here like this. And then checking out the back of the car, we can see now that it's these upper white lights that are reverse lights that we're going to want to tap into here for the backup camera. And then to get the cable from the backup camera into the car, we're going to run here back behind the license plate light, and the cable is going to run this way because inside the trunk there's a little hole right here with a grommet. This is here to help with weather sealing, to ensure that there's no water intrusion into the trunk. I cut a little slit into here that's going to allow the cable here to pass through, and then I just sealed it with a little bit of electrical tape and a zip tie for reinforcement. Obviously, some of these specifics are going to vary from one car to another. I actually looked up some YouTube videos to figure out how to do like backup camera installation. Luckily, there's a lot of people who've done this before, so shout out to my fellow YouTubers who've also done tutorials on this kind of thing. And because things are always going to be different for each individual car, you can always look up videos for your specific vehicle as well. And then back inside the car, we've got the cable that's going to run back up to the front camera here from the backup camera. There is a quick release connector right here that we can use to go ahead and connect back to the camera running to the the outside of the car. And then of course there's going to be this cable, which is going to wire here to the reverse light as our backup camera trigger. Now that's going to be this light that I'm going to tap into right here. Reading online, evidently the cables that come out of it, there's always going to be two, one for positive, one for ground. Typically black is going to be ground, but I do want to double check before I tap into it. And then to measure all this, I've got this simple voltmeter that's pretty handy. This one actually just connects to like part of the vehicle's chassis. And then sticking my probe into the back of the light bulb like this, it looks like I am getting a voltage. It's actually surprisingly low. It's 10.8 volts. It's actually fixed on screen. In real life, I know it kind of looks like it's flashing on camera. That voltage is actually really low. I might actually need a new battery here for my mom's car, but either way, it does look like this gray wire here is indeed the one that I want to tap into here for power for the backup camera. And then to access this gray wire, I want to go ahead and strip back some of this excess insulation here, making sure obviously I don't cut the cables themselves. And in the manual, they recommend stripping off some of the insulation on the power wire and then connecting the dash cam wire directly to the inner wire there. That said, I happen to have some of these quick splice connectors laying around the house, and the idea is it makes it a little bit easier to connect the cables. We're going to take the factory wire and just put it in here like this, and then we can take our add-in wire and we can slide it here onto this second side. Then we're going to go ahead and bite down here with this metal connector. It's going to bite through the insulation on both cables and then allow us to connect both of them directly. And to see if this is all working, I went ahead and plugged in the backup camera here into the rearview mirror. We can of course switch modes and just kind of take a look, and we can see, yep, we've got both the front and rear cameras that are connected and functional. Obviously I need to adjust the angle here so it's not looking directly at the license plate. But the main thing is if I put the car into reverse, that should engage the backup camera, and there we go. There's my backup camera, there's my reversing lines, and I should be able to adjust the exact angle of that backup camera here too. Put the car back into park. Let's see what happens. Boom. Now we're set up back to the previous mode that I'd had before. And now that we know that that's good, we can go ahead and start running this cable here into the car. I'm going to go ahead and start zip tying everything into place here like this. And then of course it's just going to run all the way back up into the front of the car. And then I can put this panel cover back in place. And then to aim the backup camera, we've got a pair of little screws there. We can go ahead and just aim it up like this and then tighten those screws down. Now hopping back into the car, let's see how it turned out. So I've got it set up here first with the split screen, so front and rear. I can switch over to the digital rear view mirror here like this. And then when I engage the backup camera, putting the car into reverse, it looks like it flips down, so I can see like maybe the road below me, the lanes, that kind of stuff. I've also got these indicators here, red, yellow, and green for different distances. I can adjust exactly how far away they are like that and kind of play around and see what works best here for my car. And I also have the ability to kind of like put this up and down as I want to figure out kind of the best location. And then again, if I go into like park or something, I get out of reverse, it'll go back to my digital rearview mirror. Now, another option that I like here for the backup camera is there's another display mode where instead of just seeing like the whole view like this, taking up the whole rearview mirror, if you want to see everything all at once, you can actually hit this button here in the corner, and now we can see like everything that the rear camera can see. So if you want to see maybe like cars going by and the lines on the road or something, that is going to be a nice option too. Now let's go ahead and get the dash cam updated too. And to do that, we're going to head on over to Nexigo's website, and you can grab the latest copy of the firmware available for download. And then we can copy the file over to the root directory of the micro SD card and put it back into the dash cam. Then powering our car back on, let's let it boot up and see what the update process is like here. Okay, do you want to upgrade now? We'll say confirm, start to upgrade the firmware. All right. Pretty quick process. I like that we've got the LCD display here to see what's going on. I'm assuming it's going to be, yeah, it looks like it does reset all of our settings back to default, so we are going to have to go in here and start adjusting everything the way that we want.
And now that we've got everything set up and dialed in, let's go ahead and take a look at the video quality here with this dash cam. Now, starting off with some daytime footage, overall the video quality looks pretty good here. It's even able to grab the license plates of oncoming vehicles, for example. Now with the rear camera though, this is tougher to do, but that makes sense because we're dropping from 4K down to just 1080p. And the same is true when you're driving around in cloudy and overcast conditions. I find that the video quality looks better from the front camera, while the quality from the rear camera is not quite as good, and it does struggle a little bit more. And then comparing it to the ThinkWare U3000, I find that the daytime video footage from the front cameras are pretty similar, which makes sense. With the rear cameras though, the 2K video from the U3000 does let you capture details a little bit farther away. However, the exterior camera of the D90 does seem to help avoid some of the issues with the rear window reflections or those horizontal defroster lines that can reduce some of the rear visibility. Similarly, if we take a look at some driving footage in the rain, with the U3000 mounted on the rear window, it can be obscured by some raindrops in the window,
but if you have a rear wiper in your car, that can certainly help with rear visibility. And then with the D90, on the other hand, its exterior mount seems to be more affected by mist being kicked up by the rear tires as you drive. However, there is no rear wiper option available for its exterior camera. Next, let's take a look at some nighttime video. Overall, I find that this Nexigo camera here is actually pretty decent. It's able to record what's going on around you, both front and rear. And for better context, we can compare it to the ThinkWare U3000, but it's not quite going to be an apples to apples comparison. You see, the ThinkWare has a polarizer installed, which is great for knocking out reflections in the daytime, but it does cut down on the light that can get to the sensor. In fact, it's a similar idea as if you're wearing polarized sunglasses while driving around at night. Now, the U3000's polarizer is not designed to be removable once it's installed. It just sticks directly to the lens. The Nexigo, on the other hand, doesn't actually offer a polarizer at all. Either way, these are the generally recommended configurations, and they are the setups that I run. Now, taking a look at some nighttime video footage from both cameras, I find that the U3000's footage does look grainier. There's a loss of color info, like it's more black and white, and I also do notice more motion blur with longer shutter speeds. Again, its polarizer here is not doing it any favors. And then when it comes to grabbing license plates, even though the Nexigo does have HDR, in dark situations I find both of them can still struggle to freeze license plates, even on stationary vehicles. That said, looking at some other examples, I do think I would give a slight edge to the Nexigo in terms of clarity and detail. And then flipping around and looking at the rear cameras, the biggest difference I notice at night is the fact that the Nexigo's exterior camera seems to be less affected by glare from streetlights. You'll see the reflections on the rear window from the ThinkWare's camera setup. Additionally, because the Nexigo also adds HDR, in some situations it can be beneficial in freeze framing details while driving. And then a few other quick things to note. There's going to be some GPS info that's stamped onto the video footage, including your latitude and longitude. For privacy reasons, I would rather not have that information on all the video footage, and so for that reason, I brought this up with Nexigo, and they sent over a custom firmware that I can load onto the camera that would not display the exact coordinates on any of the video footage. Now, this is just a temporary test firmware version. There is no option to turn the GPS information on and off, but it looks like they are going to be working on giving us that option at some point in the future. And then the last thing to mention when it comes to video quality, I do notice that there can be some slight shakiness or vibration in the video footage. It's not a huge deal, but I do notice it a little bit more compared to dash cams with more solid mounts. Now, there are some other rearview mirror style dash cams that allow you to actually replace your existing rearview mirror and connect your dash cam rearview mirror directly to the rearview mirror stem. Nexigo doesn't offer a mount like this, and so for that reason, you've got to use the kind of rubber bands to wrap around your existing rearview mirror, which can introduce a little bit of vibration, which is what I then notice in the video footage. Either way though, when it comes to video quality, I think that the Nexigo does its job here pretty well. Now that said, I have seen some situations where the dashcam can actually skip some frames while it's recording. So far in my testing, it's only happened once. It didn't seem to apply to the rear camera. It only happened here on the front camera. Now, I was talking this over with Nexigo, and it looks like it's actually a memory card issue. In fact, they've seen similar results too when running the D90 with the Samsung Evo Select memory cards. And so for that reason, instead they recommend running one of the higher end red or blue Samsung U3 cards, or running some of the other brands like your SanDisk or Kingston U3 cards. And so for that reason, I've since switched to a different memory card, and I'll link to the recommended cards for you down in the description below. Next, let's talk about the D90 specifically as a digital rearview mirror and backup camera. Again, that's really the primary reason why I picked this unit up. And here in my mom's car, she doesn't have a backup camera or anything, and having that backup camera is of course very useful. And with the backup camera, there's two different modes. We'll go ahead and put the car into reverse here, and the main mode that she likes is this one here, where you can see the entire thing all at once. There is a second mode that's available where you can see like it takes up the whole rearview mirror, and you can kind of pan up and down as needed to get it exactly where you want. But driving around with it, she actually prefers the option where you can see everything at once like this, even though it is a little bit smaller on screen. And then when it comes to the digital rearview mirror, I find that there's sometimes when the digital mirror is better, while other times the traditional mirror is better. For example, I've also got a digital rearview mirror in my Kia EV9, and I find that it's especially helpful if I can't see out the back, if there's a bunch of luggage in the back or people's heads or something. I can just switch it over to the digital rearview mirror, and now I'm able to see everything going on back behind me. Another difference that I've noticed, coming back in here to my mom's car again real quick, you'll notice that there's a bit of tunnel vision trying to look out the rear window here in the car. You've got headrests and the C-pillars blocking some of the field of view. If we switch it on over now to the digital rearview mirror, we actually have a wider field of view available, and we don't have those same things actually blocking the rear visibility. You'll notice that depending on the angle we we can still get some reflections like this that can block and make it harder to see what's going on back behind you. One trick to that I've noticed is if you just kind of like flick the mirror down like that, that can help. It depends, like if you've got maybe the seats in the light or something. Other times if you're driving around, the interior of the car is not in the light, it does work a little bit better, so your mileage may vary on that. But this actually brings me to a second key difference that you may have noticed when I've been shooting this video, is the fact that you're actually going to have to refocus your eyes depending on where you're looking. You see, when you've got it set up to just the traditional mirror like this, I can focus with my eyes straight ahead on the road ahead, and I can just kind of glance up to the rearview mirror and see exactly what's going on back behind me. That's not the case if you're using the digital rearview mirror. Here, I'm going to go ahead and focus the camera. The digital rearview mirror, it's about a foot away from my face, and so I actually have to refocus my eyes in order to be able to see what's going on back there. And that's kind of annoying when I'm like looking forward like this, and I've got to focus my eyes here, and then if I just want to glance at the rearview mirror, everything's going to be kind of blurry, so I have to like refocus my eyes like that, and then refocus my eyes up ahead. That's kind of annoying when you're driving and you just want to quickly see what's going on back behind you. That's not an issue if you're using the traditional rearview mirror, where your eyes are basically focused far away either way. And so for these reasons, I typically prefer running with the traditional rearview mirror, and then when the digital version is better, I can just switch on over to that as needed, and it is nice having the option. Next, let's talk about parking recording. It is available here in the D90. It's fairly simplistic, but it is available. Now, in order to get the parking recording, you do need to purchase the optional hardwire cable from Nexigo. It's a pretty traditional 3-wire hardwire cable, and in order to shut off the dash cam before it fully drains your car battery, it's got a fixed voltage cutoff threshold of 11.8 volts. You can't actually adjust that threshold the way you can with some other dash cams. Plus, in the dash cam itself, you can choose how long the dash cam records for before it shuts off. Again, just to avoid maybe draining your car battery too far. Now, to access the parking recording modes, we're going to go over here into the settings, and then in the top right, we've got an option here for time-lapse recording, and there's 2 different parking recording modes. The first one is going to be for your impact detection. Additionally, if you turn this off, you've also got a second option here for the time-lapse recording, and so you can set it up here to record for different periods of time in time-lapse. If you turn this on, then you've got a third option that pops up that allows you to choose how many frames per second the dash cam records. So 1, 2, or 3 frames per second here. Now first, let's talk about the collision boot recording mode. This is essentially impact detection. In case of like a hit and run or something, that impact can wake up the dash cam and then it's going to begin recording. Now, 2 things to note. Number 1, it's non-buffered impact detection, meaning it's actually going to wait for an impact to wake up and begin recording. This is different from some other dash cams. Like, for example, I've got the ThinkWare U3000 here installed as well. And I did a quick test of just kind of going in front of the car and waving around and then actually whacking the windshield. And if you take a look at the differences, you'll notice that the U3000 wakes up when it starts sensing the motion of me kind of walking in front of the car. And then it's also going to record the impact of me whacking the windshield, but the Nexigo is actually going to take a full 5 seconds to detect that impact and then begin recording. And so as you can see with the Nexigo, there's no motion detection and there's only impact detection that takes 5 seconds for the dashcam to wake up and begin recording. And so yes, while there is impact detection here, it's not going to be as capable and sophisticated as what we've got with some other dashcams. And then the second parking recording option is going to be for your time-lapse recording. And again, you can choose how many frames per second it records in. This is going to be more of your continuous-ish parking recording mode that records video only and no audio. Now, I tried actually hitting the windshield when the dashcam was set up here in time-lapse recording mode, and it didn't actually switch over and give me a traditional video recording after it detected the impact. And so for that reason, time-lapse is only going to be time-lapse recording mode. If you want, you can, of course, go back frame by frame if you notice something happen and try to see exactly what happened around your car. But that is going to be a manual process. The dashcam doesn't indicate when an impact was detected in time-lapse recording mode or anything. Plus, you're going to have to go frame by frame. It could be hours worth of video to figure out exactly where that event was. And there's no video and audio of any sort of impacts that are recorded. So again, it's strictly going to be time-lapse parking recording mode. And so while yes, the D90 here does have parking recording mode and actually 2 different parking recording modes, overall I find them to be fairly basic and simplistic. And with that said, what are my overall thoughts here with this dashcam? Well, overall, I quite like the D90 Gen 3 here. It's the only true 4K dashcam that's using a Sony Starvis 2 sensor. There's a lot of fake 4K models out there, and this one actually does record in 4K. And for that reason, the video quality is quite good here. In fact, somewhat surprisingly, in some situations, it's actually better than the ThinkWare U3000, in part because of the fact that it does have HDR. That said, the main reason that I opted for this dashcam was to get the backup camera functionality, and we definitely do find it to be helpful, particularly my mom here. If you don't have a car with a backup camera, this is an easy way to add it, which is very nice. Plus, you don't have any additional like screens on the dash or anything. It's just right into your rearview mirror. The digital rearview mirror I find to be less helpful. There are a couple situations where it is useful, but not in every situation. In many situations, I prefer actually running with the traditional rearview mirror and then just switching it over to the digital one as needed, and it is nice to have that option. It does offer parking recording capability, but the implementation here is fairly simplistic, and so if you want really good parking recording capability, there are better dash cams available, but for just something simple and basic, this will do the job. And so if you're looking for a dash cam that integrates with your rearview mirror, that has good video quality, and a reasonably good feature set, I think this Nexigo D90 Gen 3 is a good option here. If you want to pick one up, I'll put a link down in the video description to where you can purchase the dash cam, along with any other recommended accessories like the parking mode cable, good memory cards that work with the dash cam, etc. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask down in the comment area below. Other than that, thanks so much for watching. Hope you guys are doing great, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.